Danny Flexen for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren ahead of a very busy time towards the end of the year. Starting off this Friday with the much anticipated rematch between Mark Heffron and Denzel Bentley. How can they surpass the first fight? Because that was a cracker.
Well, it was, but it's more on the line this time, Dan. It's the British title as well. So they'll have the bit between themselves. And if it's half as good as the last one, it'd be a great fight, but I think it'd be better this time round.
You promote both guys, so do you have a horse in the race, if you like?
Well, we promote them both. You know, we've done. It's not like the first time we've ever done that. We do put our guys in and let them, you know, if they're good fights that the business calls for, they're professional boxers and they'll fight each other. Like I always say, it's not the end of the world for the loser. It's how you lose. And I think with these two guys, it's so keenly balanced between the two of them. I mean, you know, I can't recall ever, you know, three judges giving a fight as a draw. And I actually thought it was a draw as well. I found it very difficult to split them. But one thing's for sure, this time round, both of them having the benefit of being in the ring with each other, you know you're going to get something a little bit special because they know what they're up against.
And on the undercard, you've got a super bantamweight clash, Southern Area champion against the English champion with a WBC international silver belt on the line. You made some comments last week in praise of Chris Bork. Just how far can he go in your view?
I like him. I like him. He's done everything that's been asked of him up to yet, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action again. You know, he's a cracking little fighter, and I think he can go a long way.
Yeah, he is good. This is the first of a number of shows you've got before the end of the year. Probably the most notable before Fury, of course, is Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce. Highly, and I know I said that about Heffron Bentley, but this one's particularly highly anticipated. Go on.
Well, it is, but just before you say that, remember we've got Tommy Fury on as well. He's back out, and I'm pleased to see him back in action on Friday. So, you know, we're going to keep him busy. He's looking tremendous. He's been spending a lot of time with Tyson training and working with Sugar Hill as well. So I think that'll add a new dimension to what he's doing. And I know he works with his dad, John. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action on Friday.
And he's got a very similar physique to both of us, Frank, as well. We just don't get out all the time.
I don't know about you, Dan. More like me, mate.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I wish.
Dubois Joyce, I want to ask you, it's a great gesture that it's going to be on subscription BT Sport rather than pay-per-view. But without that pay-per-view money and no live gate either because of the COVID stuff, how are you managing to make this work? What's your secret?
Look, everybody's had to step up to the plate. BT, ourselves, and obviously the boxers. And between us all, we've made it work. Everybody wants to see the fight. I mean, it's taken us for age, not for anybody's fault, to get it on, but it's on now, and we've managed to hopefully make it work for everybody.
You've talked about your future plans for Daniel. In the past, you've talked about him potentially fighting Joshua, potentially fighting Wilder. Most recent name was Usyk, I saw. What is your ideal path for him should he get past Joe Joyce on the 28th of November?
Look, he's got a tough fight. He's got to get past a really good undefeated heavyweight. Joe Joyce, silver medalist, from the Olympics. Joe fancies the fight big time. I mean, the good thing about this fight is both of them really think they got the beating of each other. They're both up for it. It's not like either of them have tried to duck out of it. They keep calling for the fight. So, that, as I say, with their tremendous self-belief, we're going to get something special. And I think it's about the winner, where the winner goes from this fight. Now, Sam Jones and I have had our little, nice rivalry and differences. It's not weird, it's not nasty stuff. He obviously fancies his man, and he manages. And I think that Daniel's going to be the guy. But look, it's a close fight on paper. I've seen people 1 minute they fancy Daniel to win it, then same people fancy Joe to win it. So it's one of those type of fights. But whoever comes through, I think, has got the beating of all those guys we've just mentioned.
So you'd be willing.
And I've seen some of the stuff. Somebody mentioned me about on the internet, like saying about either Daniel or Joe fighting Usyk, and about what Usyk did as a pro, done when he fought Joe. It was in the
WSB.
amateur. They ain't amateur anymore. And I've got to tell you something, looking at what I looked at the other week, he's a tremendous cruiserweight. As a heavyweight, he'd done what he had to do. But is he gonna those naturally bigger guys, and he's what's he now, 30 odd years of age, 33 years of age. It's not like he could put that weight, he's going to be a natural heavyweight growing into it at that age now.
So would you be willing to put the winner of this Dubois Joyce fight in with any heavyweight bar Fury at this stage?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. What you got to lose? You've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's a bit like, how can I put it? You sort of, with Daniel, I know he's got the power. I know he can box. He's got a great jab. And would I fancy him against Dillian Whyte or against Chisora? In a heartbeat. I mean, he'll tell you, Chisora, we offered him last year a big purse to fight Daniel.
I remember.
Last year.
I remember how much he asked for as well.
yeah, well, what he asked for. But we still offered him a lot of money to fight him. So that's the confidence that we got.
You've got, you co-promote the best heavyweight in the world by consensus, and you've arguably got the best heavyweight prospect in the world as well. That seems to be a collision course. At least at some point in the future, they will meet. How do you feel about that?
Well, look, if it happens, the business call for it, it'll happen. I mean, in the meantime, what we want is for Tyson, it's quite imminent that we announce his opponent, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but that's very imminent, the announcement. And providing Tyson comes through, everybody agrees now we want to see him and AJ get it together. He's fighting Povetkin, I think, on the 12th of December, isn't it? So
Pulev
on the 12th of December. So providing he comes through his fight, we can get those two guys on. After they fight, if it's Daniel, Joe, who's ever there, if it's Daniel, then you would think that's got to be the fight. Daniel at the moment is number 2 in the WBO rankings. So if he decides Joshua that he's not going to fight Usyk, then Usyk would have to fight Daniel for the vacant title, provided he beats Joe.
But then a future unification would pit Daniel against Tyson. Tyson looks unbeatable in current form.
It would be brilliant. And I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be hard to make because we haven't got all the aggravation of dealing with the other side.
With Daniel on his current trajectory, can you see a way in a couple of years' time where he'd have that skill set or that kryptonite to beat Tyson? Because Tyson looks unbeatable at times.
But Tyson has got no miles on the clock to start with. You look at his record. He's had a couple of tough fights over the year, but they're not. The toughest one was obviously against Wilder, that last round. Well, it wasn't a tough fight. He actually was doing really well in the fight, but got clipped. And it was a tough 12th round. And certainly the second fight wasn't a tough fight for him. He'd done a job on him. So he's got no miles on the clock. Who knows down there? Tyson's one of those guys, he says he wants to fight. And if he said he wanted to pack it in tomorrow, with all respect that he wanted to do that. But he's a guy who, I think that because of how he boxes and his skills could go on for many, many years if he chose to do so.
But if anyone is out there who can beat Fury, is Daniel the number one kind of chance of that?
Look, Daniel would say right now he feels he's got the beating of everybody. I don't think at the moment. I think he needs more schooling. He only had 7 amateur, senior bouts as an amateur. So he's been moved fairly fast to where he's at now.
And you mentioned Fury's opponent. I read something last week that you were just waiting for the contract signing from Agit Kabayel. How close is that? You said imminent.
We were just on the phone just before this interview with his lawyer. We're just trying to get a couple of things ironed out, and hopefully we'll get it done today.
What makes him the right opponent for Fury at this stage to keep him busy before the big fights of next year?
Well, the problem we got is because of COVID and making this work, how we make it work. He's undefeated. He's, was he 20-0? I think he's 20-0. He's the European champion. He has a win over Chisora. So he ticks a few boxes for the fight. And Tyson wanted to fight before the end of the year. So unfortunately, we couldn't get the third fight on with Deontay. But obviously, the finances weren't there to make this happen. And we had to work very hard to get this one over the line. Or nearly over the line, that's it, yeah.
So if Fury takes care of business, as we all expect him to, is it then straight into negotiations after Joshua does similar, hopefully, on the 12th?
I would hope. Well, he takes care of business, and then AJ's got to take care of business, and then the negotiations.
And how do you anticipate those negotiations going? Have you actually had your feigned lunch/dinner with Eddie Hearn yet?
No. I think we were, for various reasons, it did not from mine, but various reasons it didn't happen. Then he caught COVID, then he had a show on, and there is a lockdown, so there's no lunches, so nothing's happened.
There's no lunches or dinners for anyone at the moment.
I'm not sitting around holding my breath waiting for that to happen. He might be inviting me round for Christmas dinner, who knows?
You never know. But how do you anticipate those negotiations going? I mean, how many times over the past 5 years have you guys sat down, not necessarily you and Hearn, but just the companies, and made fights between the two sides?
Well, we've made a few fights, haven't we, over the years? We made a few fights, and it's a fight that everybody... Look, why is it... It's not going to be difficult to make the fight. It's a 50-50 split. We all knew it was always going to be a 50-50 split. And televising it shouldn't be a problem. Let both the channels televise it. And that's it, unless somebody comes out and buys one of the other channels, buys one of the channels out. It's not rocket science.
Have you had, obviously you have conversations with BT all the time, have you had an indication from them that they're happy to share the rights with Sky?
Yeah, it's not a question. Of course they would like it. They would like it. Of course Sky would like it, but it's what the fan, to make the fight happen, what it requires. Sometimes you've got to do things you don't want to do. And in this particular case, for me, it is, I don't see any option, but they both share it.